For over the past 40 years, the Honda Civic Si has been an integral part of Honda's North American lineup for the Civic. Now, this vehicle has essentially attracted a huge cult following ever since it came out back in 1984. Now, back in 2022, we saw the sportiest Si ever introduced when Honda introduced the all-new 11th generation version. So for 2025, Honda is giving the Si a very minor refresh. As you can see, the styling in the front is slightly different. We have updated wheels and we have a little bit more technology on the interior. So this week, as you can see, we are here in Nashville, Tennessee to finally get behind the wheel of the new Civic Si. And the big question I want to answer for those of you who are enthusiasts looking for an affordable daily driver that's a little more sport injected, how does the latest version of the Civic Si stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So before we start talking about the very minor exterior styling changes, I thought I'd pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering a Civic Si. Now, in the past, the Civic Si got a little bit less special because Honda essentially offered this 1.5 liter turbo on lesser versions of the Civic. However, for 2025, the Si is the only Civic in the lineup to essentially use this engine. It's the same 1.5 liter gasoline direct injection turbocharged 4-cylinder with double overhead cam. It also still has their VTEC, their signature VTEC variable valve timing system. So that's all very nice. The horsepower figure remains unchanged at 200 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. It does have a turbocharger that's stuffing up to 18 pounds of maximum boost pressure. I have to say, this was an opportunity for Honda to add more power to the Si, so I'm a little disappointed that they didn't, because if you guys also watch our review on the Civic Hybrid, the Civic Hybrid has also 200 horsepower, but more torque at 232 pound-feet. Now, the other thing you should probably think about, if you guys want a manual transmission Civic, this and the Type R are the only Civics to offer that. This only comes with a 6-speed manual transmission that also includes a mechanical limited slip differential. This vehicle remains front-wheel drive, and fuel economy actually isn't bad. 27 in the city, 37 on the highway. Roughly 31 mpg combined. This has about a 12.5 gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 350-ish miles of range on a full tank. Honda does recommend premium on this engine, but you probably could get away with running it on regular, but again, it is still a Civic, so it should be relatively economical. The company doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. We got just over 7 seconds in our last test. This vehicle should have a top speed around 130 miles an hour. And as this car sits, it weighs in at around 2,900 pounds. So this is still one of the lightest vehicles that you can buy that are brand new today. But let's go ahead and close up this hood here and talk about the very minor exterior styling changes. Now, first of all, this color is new for 2025 on the Si. It's called Urban Gray Pearl. We've technically seen this color before on some Acura products, so it's kind of great to see it offered on a Civic. The front fascia, as you can see, you'll have to literally squint hard or have the old one parked next to it to see the changes. You can see the grille looks a little bit different. The kind of element there, that little plastic element below the headlight, is now gloss black painted. I've seen it body colored on the Hybrid. It certainly has a nice look that flows nicely with the full multi-reflector style LED headlights. You have an LED turn signal, LED low and high beam. As you can see, LED daytime running light. There's a subtle Si badge there in the grille. And then down here, you can see more of the honeycomb continues. And you also have this gloss black lip painted on the Si, along with an unpainted kind of matte finish over here. The one thing I wish Honda had given on the Si were fog lights. I think fog lights would have looked really good, like right here. But overall, the way the sun is making the Urban Gray Pearl shimmer, which kind of has like a warm gray effect. It looks very nice, of course, with the slight styling updates. This vehicle, when it first came out in 2022, it kind of reminded me of like a Jetta GLI, and that kind of continues as you move around the side profile. You can see the sedan, or the Civic Si, only comes as a sedan. This is another opportunity where Honda could have offered the Si as a hatch, but the Type R is only offered as a hatch, so to prevent it from cannibalizing there, I guess that's why they only offered it as a sedan. It's around 184 inches long in the overall length with a 107.7 inch long wheelbase, unchanged from the 2024 model. And this is still a relatively long size compact sedan, but if you're looking at something like the Volkswagen Jetta GLI, the Jetta is around 2 inches longer. This is about the same length as the Hyundai Elantra N-Line. Now you click the wheels, you can see these are an updated 18-inch wheel that you get with this kind of matte black finish to them. They're like a twin 5-spoke design. They're riding on a 235/40 R18 Goodyear Eagle F1 summer tire. The summer tire is an extra $300. You can see the brakes. They are the same size rotors as the regular Civic. I kind of wish that Honda would have painted the caliper, at least given it a bigger caliper versus just the floating twin piston design. It would have made this vehicle look a lot sportier. You do have an adjustable, or you do have a fully independent suspension front and rear. You can see also there's no additional like bulging fenders. That's where you buy the Type R. It gives you an actual wider body. Then you can see here the mirrors are gloss black. No integrated turn signals, however. No 360 camera, as you can see, but it definitely looks good with the Urban Gray Pearl. You can see the sunroof is also included on the SI. That's something you can't get on the Type R. So that's a reason to choose this if you guys are also on a budget. I also appreciate the flat black around the rest of the side profile. And then following over to the rear, the sedan shape is very much conservative, but it also is handsomely styled. The SI comes with this gloss black rear deck lid spoiler type. You have a subtle SI badge here with the Honda logos that are in chrome. I think the dealership will offer you a black package for the logos if you want to black out those emblems. And then you can see down here, the rear bumper looks pretty much the same. The taillights are an LED combination. The turn signal and reverse light is just incandescent. And then you have the signature dual outlet exhaust tips. Honda's been kind of quietly removing the exhaust tips on other Civics, so it's good to see that it has it here. And then in terms of the trunk capacity, you can see the trunk is pretty traditional. It has hinges that will crush your cargo if you don't rearrange it properly. The seats do fold down in a 60/40 manner, and you have around 14 cubic feet of total storage space. 14 cubic feet is fine. Keep in mind the hatch offers around 10 more cubic feet of space. If you look underneath the floor here, you can see no spare tire. Instead, you just have an air compressor and a little bit more of additional storage. But overall, if you plan to use this as your daily, this is definitely going to be more practical versus like a coupe that you might be trading in. So on the outside, Honda made very little changes to the Civic's exterior styling, and on the interior, that theme pretty much continues. You can see if you guys don't like a black interior, this is really your only color option. But I do say these seats look pretty nice still. These are a cloth seat with some contrast red stitching, the kind of red insert here, which almost has like a checkered flag look to it. These seats are still manually adjustable for both the driver and the passenger, but Honda thankfully added a 3-level heat function for the SI. Last year, you couldn't get heated seats in this vehicle. Now, at least you can. And overall, the seats still look really nice, but I'll show you guys in the back seat that this look here doesn't continue over into the rear seat area. But getting inside, you can see it's got that low step-in height, as you guys expected. As I shut the door, the door has a pretty solid sounding thunk, and then here's the key fob for the vehicle. All SIs come with their intelligent access key. You can see it has the Honda logo there. No SI badging, that would have been nice, but you can see it has usual buttons here for lock, unlock. That will allow you to pop open the trunk and use the panic function to start the vehicle up. You can see it only comes with a manual, thank God. Put the clutch in. You can hear it has pretty much the same starter noise. The exhaust is still a little on the quiet side. So this is again where I think Honda could have worked on making the exhaust sound a little bit nicer. That was kind of a missed opportunity for them. But in terms of the rest of the interior, you can see, let's start with the door panel. Same material as the pre-refresh model. This is sadly a hard touch injection molded plastic. The upper touring versions of the Civic have a soft touch plastic. You can see there's piano black here, aluminum accented or fake aluminum accented door handles here. It's slightly padded here with more of that cloth texture. You have one touch for both the driver and front passenger, but not for the rear. The rear windows are not one touch. Like I said, no power mirrors and no obviously power seats or memory seats. I do appreciate the leather wheel, as you can see, although an SI badge here would have been nice. You do have red contrast stitching, no paddles obviously because it's a manual. You can see the steering wheel itself offers a good amount of adjustability to get into a pretty comfortable driving position. The horn, it sounds a little puny, but again, it's still a Civic, so it reminds you that it's an economy car. In terms of the rest of the dash, you can see this upper portion of the dash is a soft touch injection molded plastic. You do have some nice red accents here, bordering the honeycomb style for these, continuous dash vent. I also like the high quality feel that you get with the dash vent adjustment knobs. You can see there's dual zone climate control, and your 3-level heated seats are located right here. So that's a nice little touch, but no cooled seats. That's not available on the Civic. There's a center console here that has a little place where you can put your phone, but as you can see, it's lacking the wireless phone charger. That typically is on the Sport Touring trim, so I'm really annoyed to see that Honda didn't put it on the SI. The shifter is still fantastic. The clutch is really light and springy. I also like the alloy pedals, but you can basically just kind of go through the gates really nicely, and it's one of the best shifting manuals out there. If I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your backup camera, which has trajectory. It has distance markers, but no parking sensors, I believe, and it does have, it looks like, rear cross traffic alert, so actually it should have parking sensors. I take that back if it has that feature. One of the best manual transmissions out there, which is nice. Over here you can see the center stack has this kind of interesting non-glossy gray kind of carbon fiber look textured trim, which is nice because it doesn't show like fingerprints and scratches. You have your drive mode selector here. It's pretty simple. There's a normal, a sport, and then an individual mode. The individual mode allows you to kind of customize things. No adaptive dampers on this car, but you can customize the gauge, the engine sound, the steering, and the engine response, of course. It does create a fake engine sound through the speakers. Decent sized cup holders here. You have a padded center console. Open that up, you can see it's a little bit on the smaller side, but it does offer a little bit of covered storage, which is nice. These seats, like I said earlier, are pretty comfortable and supportive. I just don't love how they're cloth. This is where I wish Honda would offer like a leather material on the SI, just part of an option package. That would definitely be nice. At least there is a Bose stereo in this vehicle that's standard. It's the 12 speaker system, and it sounds decent. If you guys get tired of, listening to the engine, you can see the glove compartment there. It's a bin style. It's damped but not lined with felt. It's a little bit on the smaller side. There's no auto dimming rearview mirror. There is LED map lighting here, and then you can see the sunroof has a traditional shade that opens and closes. It also opens and tilts, so nothing too out of line there. It's very much a continuation of the pre-refresh model. One of the big updates I forgot to mention right away is the gauge display. That is fully digital now, so that's basically the same one we've seen in the Sport Touring. It also has shift lights there to let you know when it's time to shift. You can also change the way the gauge looks slightly. Keep in mind the pre-refresh model just had the half 7-inch and the analog, so that definitely looks a little bit more modern. And you also have Google built in to the infotainment system, as you can see. So it has Google voice commands, it has Google Maps, it has the Google Play Store, and it also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So at least Honda gave the SI the nicer infotainment display as opposed to the Civic Sport, which has the smaller 7-inch display. But again, there's a couple of features in this vehicle that I kind of wish they would have added, mostly centered around the available leather seats and of course the wireless phone charging pad. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area so I can show you guys what that space is like. Now this is pretty much unchanged. Remember, this is a heavy refresh, or it's not even a heavy refresh, it's just a slight refresh. As I get in back here and close the door, there's around 37.5 inches of legroom, so plenty of space. This is where I'd have the seat for my driving position. There's a slight hump here for the middle passenger. No features back here, as you can see. No vents, no USB-C charging ports, no separate climate, but there's a good amount of space. I can get back here across my legs. I have a decent amount of headroom space, and there's also an LED map light here. You can see material quality is all hard touch plastic. They also got rid of the glossy black over here, but at least it's still padded here. This is a cheaper plastic, so you can see Honda's really cost cutting there for the back seat. At least the back seat area, as you can see, has contrast red stitching, but again, the fabric material to me feels a little bit cheap. I don't like the way the fabric feels, and this is where I was hoping Honda would offer a leather material. You can see there's cup holders here with an armrest that folds down. So if you need to use this as a family vehicle, obviously if you're coming from like a Miata or a BRZ or an 86, this is going to be a huge upgrade, but this is where you're going to find slightly nicer materials and a nicer material as well in something like the Volkswagen Jetta GLI, which is a lot more expensive. So here we are back behind the wheel of the Civic SI. Remember, this vehicle pretty much didn't get any mechanical changes to the powertrain. We still have a 1.5 liter turbo with 200 horsepower and a 6-speed manual transmission. This is again an opportunity where Honda could have added more power, but sadly they didn't deliver that. I did get a chance to drive the hybrid earlier today, but let's just see what we can get 0 to 60 wise in this vehicle. Hopefully I don't burn out the tires too much. Wow, 8.16 seconds. Now, one of the reasons why this car is kind of slow 0 to 60 wise just by the numbers is because you have to go into third to get to 60 miles an hour. They really kind of need to adjust the gearing to where you could get it to 60 in second in this vehicle. Remember, every time you have to shift gears, it's going to add precious time to that 0 to 60 number. Now, obviously, I've gotten a quicker number before, and of course, I also have Rob next to me. He's probably going to say that he's just really fat and he adds extra weight, but remember, you don't buy a Civic Si for incredibly fast 0 to 60 times. This vehicle is all about the mechanical feel. And I have to say, in today's era where I'm sitting here driving a manual that also has active rev matching, it's kind of pleasant to be driving something like this. You can hear the sound that the engine makes is augmented. It's a little bit louder in sport mode like this, but I like the sound. Do I wish it had a little bit more from the exhaust? Yes. I kind of wish it had some more pops and crackles and bangs, but that's something you could get from like the Hyundai Elantra N, which to be honest is not that much more expensive if you guys wanted to go to the Hyundai Elantra N. The handling dynamics of this car are still absolutely fantastic. The steering is really quick, snappy, and direct. The suspension feels nice and firm, but it's also not incredibly punishing. I really appreciate how sporty this car feels, but it also feels relatively supple. There is a little bit more road noise in this model because it has summer performance tires. The seats also hug you in place nicely. You can see out of the front, the side, and the rear quite well. These cloth seats, I don't love the way they feel, but at least they do hold you in place nicely. And one of the things that Honda added this year was the rev matching, where it allows you to go from second to first. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do that because I'm going too fast, but previously, if you wanted to downshift from second to first, it wouldn't actually rev match for you. So it's nice to see that they gave you that. I really, again, appreciate just how much more responsive this engine feels, but there is a little bit of turbo lag until you get past 4,000. That's where the turbo spools up and you can feel the extra power. But again, at the top end, this vehicle really could use an extra 20 horsepower, 20 to 30 horsepower, at least put it in the same ballpark as a Volkswagen Jetta GLI, which offers around 228 ponies. The shifter in this vehicle is really easy to use, really fun to shift. It just is a really easy car to daily drive. So let's actually go second to first. You can see it now. We'll rev match there. So the fact that this car does have auto rev matching is nice. You're not going to find that in the Jetta GLI or the Hyundai Elantra N. So that's one of the reasons, again, to show you that the Civic is a little bit more serious about being a sport compact vehicle. And it also has a mechanical limited slip differential, which does help it put the power down, especially if you guys plan to track this vehicle, which you can. I mean, I've seen people do some modifications to the SI where you can actually, turn the wick up on the boost pressure, although I think Honda should have just done that on their own. Driving this vehicle in traffic, you can see the clutch is really easy to kind of get used to. And it's just a really car to drive because the clutch is pretty light. It also has good feel. It's not a really easy car to stall. So if you are trying to teach someone how to drive a manual transmission in this vehicle, you can certainly do so in the new Civic. Let's take this off ramp here and just feel the handling dynamics. No adaptive dampers, but those summer performance tires definitely help it stick to the road a little bit better. The steering offers good feedback. And this car feels playful. I mean, it's a sub 3,000 pound car, and it's one of those cars where it feels better the harder you drive it. You basically want to drive this vehicle like you stole it, and that's the whole point of this car. It's not supposed to be overwhelming in power. That shift light and the little buzzer, again, tries to keep you from over revving it. It revs to 6,500 RPM. And here, getting up to highway speeds, it's definitely nice. This thing actually cruises pretty well. At 6th gear, I'm actually going pretty quick. It's a little over 35 or 3,200 RPM, so not horrible. This is where you're going to be able to get that 37 mpg. And obviously during this short drive, I'm not going to be able to test the fuel efficiency. It's been averaging around 23.4 and very enthusiastic driving. And it has about a half a tank of fuel, and it's showing around 227 miles of range. So once I get one back home, I'll be able to do a little bit more extensive 0 to 60 testing and fuel economy testing. Here out on the highway, you can hear there is a good amount of road noise coming in, a little bit of wind noise as well, but I am going like 78 miles an hour. The speed limit is 70 on this highway here in Tennessee, but it still cruises nice. The seats are comfortable. The ride quality is supple. I can also switch the drive mode here into its normal setting. The fake engine sound goes away. The steering gets a little bit lighter. It becomes a little bit more relaxed, but this is exactly why people still continue to like the Civic Si. It kind of has like that perfect balance of comfort and sportiness. I just want Honda to turn the dial on the oven basically a little bit higher into the sport category and give us like 20 to 30 more horsepower. I think that would really go a long way into making the Si feel a little bit more special versus now the Civic Hybrid. So even though Honda discontinued the manual transmission on regular Civics, if you're an enthusiast that must shift your own gears, this is where the Honda Civic Si continues to fit perfectly in the lineup. In fact, just like when I first had a chance to drive this vehicle in California 3 years ago, the company essentially turned this vehicle almost into like a Type R Lite. The handling dynamics are among the best you're going to find. That limited slip differential really helps to put the power down, especially if you have the summer tires. The manual transmission is still one of the best, crispest shifting manuals out there. It just has that super smooth, buttery feel into the gates. And the turbocharged engine, it certainly feels special. I mean, especially the fact that you can't get the 1.5 turbo in other Civics. They really, again, increase the responsiveness of the engine. It feels a little bit stronger than its numbers would suggest, even though the 0 to 60 times of this vehicle are now, I'm pretty confident this is going to be slower than Civic Hybrid. So you definitely don't want to pull up next to a hybrid at the light because you might end up getting your car smoked, which is kind of embarrassing. But the point of the Si hasn't always been to get the fastest 0 to 60 times. Remember, this is all about visceral driver engagement, and that's where the Civic Si is among the best you're going to find. The interior is still a little bit too cheap for me in terms of features, especially considering the price point. I like the fact that Honda added heated seats and the all-digital display. but they skimped and they don't give you a wireless phone charging pad. If you guys want like a leatherette material or a leather material, you cannot get that on the Civic Si. It only comes with these cloth seats, which the seats themselves are comfortable. It's not the most refined car at times. It's a little bit noisy, but hey, if you guys want something that has a more mechanical feel, this is definitely one of the best options out there. The back seat is usable. The trunk is also fine. Really, it's going to be coming down to the pricing, because SIs, they are still relatively affordable, but they've also gone up in price over the years. I remember when I first tested the Si when it came out in 2021, it was around like $28,000. Now Honda has increased the price to just under $30,000. So you're looking at $29,950 for the base price. It's actually around the same price as the Honda Civic Hybrid Sport hatchback, which is kind of interesting how the two vehicles are the same price. There are essentially no options to add on the Si besides the exterior color, which is $450 extra for this model, and $300 for summer performance tires, which you can get from the factory as well. With destination and those options, my particular test car comes to $31,800 as tested, which just under 32 grand, I guess, is a reasonable amount of money, but there was a time where you can get an Si for around 25 grand. So it kind of just shows you how expensive cars in general have become. If you're looking at some of the competitive set, the Hyundai Elantra N is about, or the N line, I'm sorry, is around $1,000 cheaper. An Elantra N, the higher performance version, is around 4 grand more expensive. A Volkswagen Jetta GLI is around $34,000. So there is some value to be had with the Civic Si, but again, I really want Honda to just give this car more power. It's just all about the bragging rights. It'll give it a slightly faster 0 to 60 time, and all I really need to do is just turn up the wick on the boost pressure to give this thing like 230 horsepower. I think that would be the perfect amount of power, and adding a wireless phone charging pad with a leatherette seat option. But overall, if you guys are looking for one of the most engaging driving compacts out there, and you don't have, you know, $45,000 to $50,000 to spend on one of the really higher performance hot hatches, you should definitely put this new Civic Si at the very top of your list. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Honda Civic Si. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.